week was about MySQL. We have talked about MySQL in detail, like we have seen how to create database by using the queries, by using the one of the PHP myadmin that we used to basically create the page. So can I have a quick Dhrutiman says yes, Dhrutiman was able to see that. Anyone else who was able to see that recording that I shared on March 22? I think you have just seen that. Okay, right. So Tarani, you have also seen that. Wonderful. So anyone else who was able to see that lecture recording that was related to, again, as I said, it was related to MySQL, primarily. And we have seen that what was that MySQL is, and how do we use that in our in our and then there was a discussion of, I'll just share my screen and I'll show you. Can you guys see my screen now? Okay. Right. Yes, session cookies, Rutiman, you're right. So we talked about session cookies. So I'm just, I'm taking a very quick review because, maybe I don't know if everyone was able to see that. I'll just show those slides. So we started with the MySQL and discussed MySQL databases, how to write queries on them, how to connect, our PHP application with the databases, and we just saw that. And we saw that SQL queries, the queries that we can basically write, the where clause, which is something that we use for applying a condition on the queries. We have seen about that one as well. And in the second part, of the later part of this one, was the state management, specifically as Dhrutiban has mentioned, the cookies and the sessions that we talked about over here. And we saw that what are sessions, what are cookies, state management in general. We saw that state management could be done on the server side. It can be done on the client side. And look at that. We talked about hidden forms and query strings as well, but the most popular approach for maintaining the state of a user, be it on the server or be it on the client, we use actually the session and cookies specifically. And state management is user authentication. Again, we always want to have authenticated user, that which page should be accessible by which user. We try to just, follow that. So authorization in shopping carts as well. So we talked about that one, and we saw that what are cookies. We specifically tried to make some cookies. We had some examples that we saw from W3 schools as well, and we just talked about that one. So cookies, we talked about that cookies are those type of files that are stored on the client machine, and that is special about cookies, that they go to the client machine. And we have temporary cookies that are created temporarily and when the current browsing session is going on of a user, and then persistent cookies that when the user session goes off, and it's stored in the client side as a. And we have seen that most of the websites, they warn us that whenever we are just visiting them, that you need to accept all the cookies that we have to save, because those cookies, they do this job of session maintenance. Not only session maintenance, but also they give us the feature of customizations, sometimes at customizations and things like that. And then we saw that set cookies used for setting up the cookie, and then we saw name and value expire, we give the time, and then we can give the path as well. Where do we want to store the cookies on the client side as well, sometimes on the server side as well. And then we saw that after that, we after this was the cookie demo on that W3 schools. And then we had the sessions. We just talked about that, what are the sessions and how do we start them, and sessions are very important. So then we just saw the database connection and all those things. Now so I see there are 4 or 5 people who are just saying, Dhrutiman, Sarani, Netik, 3 people who have just shown that. So I would like to ask others as well. The question is now changed. I was asking that, well, how many of you were able to see the lecture? Now I would change my question, and the question is, how many of you already know about MySQL? Can you write a yes or no in the chat window? Again, if you are even unable to see the lecture, can you write a yes or no in the chat window that yes, you know? Like again, I'm not talking to those who have already seen the lecture. Of course, they would have a introduction. And again, when I say, how many of you know that? So, if you have worked already before in MySQL, I would like to know about that one. And there are like around odd 16 people here. So I need response from all of you, 15 people around. So can I have a response from everyone? Ankit, you have done that. Wonderful. You know MySQL and you have worked on that one. That's wonderful. How about others? We have got a lot of people. Niral Kumar, Neil, and Varun. We have got a lot of people here. Can I have response from everyone? Shriyam, you know that. Wonderful. Wonderful. Rukma. Wonderful. Dutiman, you have already the Athulia, yes. Wonderful. So you guys have already worked on that one. So that would not be a great deal for you. But the only part that might be a little different for you is the connection with the database. Okay, that's wonderful. So now let's move to our next week, because it's, if you guys understand that one, and the cookies and sessions. If you don't know, you'll have to just look last week's session, and that will really give you the understanding of that one. So let's talk about the content for today. That might not be that long for today, but again, let's talk about some of the contents. Web security. So today's discussion will be on web security concerns, what they are, what the results of the attack could be, and protecting your site against them. So that's a very important thing, because these days you see that our websites, they come under so many attacks. So many attacks they happen. So we want to just save ourselves from those attacks. And if these attacks, then they can harm the businesses big times. And you might have heard about, like, a lot of websites, they were compromised and they had a lot of problems during the recent times. Likes of, just recently, if you have read, like some airlines, specifically the Flair airline, the a very budget airline that runs in Waterloo, or from Waterloo as well. So they had their website maybe hacked, or there was some security concerns, and they were not able to just take the online. So websites, one of the concern about the website is always that we need to just actually know how to save our websites from the vulnerabilities that might happen. So what is web security? So purpose of this lecture to introduce some concepts, attacks, and protections involved in web security. It will introduction, as there are entire courses on security. Security is a huge, and by the way, you might know that cybersecurity is one of the very booming career right now. If you know about that one, like some of you might have read about it, and it's one of the area where if you go, you will find a lot of opportunities in the market these days. And there are lots of organizations, because this is one problem that is there for every organization. All the organizations, they want to save themselves from the theft of their information and all those kind of things. So that is basically, so it's a huge field in its own. And there are lots of studies been going on. There are lots of certifications that people are doing. Now let's talk about some of the attacks, and the first of them is DOS, which is denial of service. An attacker attempts to make a system, machine, service, or network resource unavailable to its intended users. Now, denial of service attack. Let's read this slide and then we'll talk about this. How? Attacker will use many computers to request same resource at the same time. And there's a distributed DOS as well. Now, what is that denial of service? Denying the legitimate users from accessing some application or some server or some machine or some legitimate server or whatever. Now, here's the interesting concept. Do you know that some of the webs, of course, not some of the, most of the, or almost, I should say every website, they use this CAPTCHA thing. Have you guys seen this CAPTCHA thing? The CAPTCHA and reCAPTCHA that websites use for security these days. So, good early days, people used to think that why in the world I have to just enter few text, and I just enter this text and then it allows me to create an account or do something. Because of that, because there was a bot services, there were softwares that used to do this. Again, they would just create, blank or the wrong or the fake accounts of people, thousands of accounts per night, and a person. They make an application and they just sleep in the night, and then the next morning they come to know, and of course they have uploaded or published the web application with limited resources. There are like limited server resources for that. And on the other day when they wake up, they just find out that their system is all is all full of the users. There are millions of users there, but all of them are fake users. So that is also one way of making these DDoS and denial of service attacks. So what they do, one of the things that they will be trying to request the same resource with some of the computer distributed out. So millions of computers making the same request, server gets down, and that is something that the target. So if you look at this picture, let me just make it bigger. So attacker machine running client program. So it runs multiple handlers, the compromised machines, and what they do by using internet, they are accessing the targeted server. So what happens? These are all fake or machines generated by the attacker, and now this legitimate service, which is for a legitimate user, if a legitimate user comes, they will not find the place or the resources, because online, whenever someone accesses a server, actually there are some resources that are allocated to that server, like to that client. So these fake accounts will be eating up all the resources. And when a legitimate user comes, they will never be able to just get the service. Why? Because the server is already occupied, it's already targeted. Now, so denial service results of DOS attack: website unavailable, web application service unavailable, loss of money from loss of revenue, of course, loss of money from bandwidth usage. There are lots of, bandwidth is all eaten up by the fake requests. May crash one aspect of your website, make another vulnerable. DOS authentication server, now anyone can log in. So again, it may crash some of the very important areas of website, and it might just takes down the all important authentication services. If it takes out the all important authentication services, it means that our website will no more be accessible. So protection, very difficult, if not impossible to prevent. It's very difficult, but it's not impossible. Instead, we must mitigate the damage. Monitoring early detection is the key. Alerts on traffic spikes if monitoring goes down. Blocking IP is often impossible. Instead, identify packet similarities and block them. So these are few of the protections that for DOS we can do. So what we can do, we can mitigate the damage. First of all, they're saying that it might be just not a proactive thing. And once if someone has come into attack, the DOS attack, they must mitigate the damage. Try to bring the damage down as much as possible. Monitoring early detection is key. So again, if quickly we can find out. How many of you know about AWS and Amazon Web Services and Google, Microsoft Azure, and then this GCP, etc.? Have you guys studied about anything about the cloud technologies till now? Anyone? Okay, Nathik, you have. Anyone else having studied about those cloud technologies that Jyotiban has also? So if you have worked on that one, of course you guys will see that they are they have those mechanisms. Oh, that's wonderful. So they have those mechanisms to just there are lots of mechanisms they are using these days, so that alert you on the spikes and all those things to handle them. And again, IPs blocking is often impossible because there will be thousands of fake IPs being generated. But of course, they are saying that rather than blocking the IPs, why not identify the packet similarities? Interestingly, the packets which hackers would try to just put in or will be sending to like the wrong information or the wrong illegitimate users, they would have certain similarities in them. Maybe the generation pattern is same, maybe the URL through which or the resource through which it is being generated has a similarity. So again, for the protection of that, we'll just try to do that. And now, as I said, all these latest and greatest like the cloud technologies, we are now having this facility that they have this automatic mitigation of these things. So the type is password cracking. Passwords remain the most popular way to protect data and allow access to a system. Of course, we always do the passwords. Passwords are vulnerable to brute force and dictionary attacks. Now, do you guys know brute force attack? What is brute force? Anyone? Brute force and dictionary, and as they say, often they are a combination of two. Do you know brute force attacking? Anyone? What is brute force? Someone should know that. Brute forcing. What is brute force attack? Attempting multiple passwords. Yes, you're right. Okay. Attempting multiple passwords. Yeah, so yes, I was just trying to add that. Brute force trying all possible actions or all possible maybe combinations of things. And you should not be surprised to know, of course, this happens. There are the files available that have lots of millions and trillions of passwords, and they used to just use them password cracking, while they will run that file with brute force and try all those millions of passwords on something, and ultimately one of them might work, because passwords combination generally. That's why that we see that annoying alerts from our servers that please try to make a password that has combination of this and that and that and this. Why? Because they know that like these brute force attacks, these dictionaries, they are collecting a lot of legitimate passwords, and if they just happen to get those passwords into them, of course that would become a real deal for everyone. So that's something, password cracking. Now, protection from password cracking. So force users to choose secure passwords that we usually get. And it becomes, at times it becomes annoying also. It would ask for a specific length of a specific character usage, of it has to be alphanumeric. It should not be the date of birth. It should not be any older password. It should not be your last name. It should not be, it tries to force all those secure passwords. And securing that, one of the technique, as I told you, is that they will not allow some password that you have previously used, right? And force change of password over the time. People are really reluctant in changing the password. And that really is an issue, because if you will not keep on changing the password, and once it gets compromised, it would be a problem for you. Okay, block incoming IP addresses after a set number of failed login. You see, we usually do that on the website. If same IP address is making repetitive failed login attempts, why not block that IP? That really creates a doubt in the mind of the developer that maybe this IP is trying to crack into my system by providing this failed attempts. Encourage user password manager, and we have got the password managers. They are really helpful. Can you name some of the password managers that you guys use? Anyone uses any password manager, specific password managers? There are password managers, some interesting password managers that we usually don't use, but they really give us a good way of managing our passwords, and as well as providing us the proper way of that one. Anyone uses anyone? Looks like no one is using any specific password now. Okay, packet sniffing. Yeah, Google Password Manager, Nitik, is one of them that we use a lot, but there are others as well, and there are other important. iCloud Keychain. Okay, you use iCloud Keychain as well. That's good. Okay, so packet sniffing is the other attack that might happen. So eavesdropping network traffic, sniffing, sniff something out between the communication. Some protocols are more vulnerable than others. HTTP, we know HTTP is not secure. Hypertext transfer protocol, it's prone to the eavesdropping, and people can read information from them. In the same way, SMTP is simple mail transfer protocol. That is also, vulnerable, and that also might, do the eavesdropping, like that, allow eavesdropping to the for the people. Users who gain access to your network are able to monitor network activity that occurs. Read mail, passwords, messages sent in plain text. You might know that there are certain very easy plugins, and specifically, I remember one of them is, I think, the Firefox. I don't remember the name of the plugin. If you have that plugin and you are connected to any of the Wi-Fi, by using just that plugin, I don't remember that's name, and I will remember maybe. Just using that plugin, you can sniff out a lot of information from that Wi-Fi network. People may be accessing something or maybe reading email or something, and you're like, as I told you, it's a sort of a plugin, or the added feature of our Firefox. On a single click of a button, it just gives a lot of information of the Wi-Fi that you are connected to. And that is a really scary thing, because that is one good reason why people say that don't connect to all Wi-Fis as well. We go to the different places where there are free Wi-Fis. So people say don't connect to them, because that's of course that might be a prone to something, because it's a public Wi-Fi, and people are using that, and someone might be there with malicious intents. So don't use them. It's a so protection, use protocol designed for security. Of course, packet sniffing can be controlled by using HTTPS, secure hypertext transfer protocol, and we do encryption, symmetric, asymmetric. There's a type of encryptions when we can implement the encryptions of that one, and that is one of the things that we usually do a lot, that we try to encrypt our passwords by using different encryption algorithms. There are lots of algorithms in the market today, and you can use any of them. There are some one-way password like encryption algorithms, where you can just go from one way to the other. Like you can encrypt that, but you cannot decrypt them. That is something which is a point of discussion for a lot of things. Anyhow, limit physical access to your network. Of course, just only allow handful of the people to your access your network, which is quite an obvious thing, because you don't want everyone to just everyone and anyone to access your network. Now comes phishing. Phishing, social engineering. Phishing is what? Imitation of a website or email. The goal of tricking a user into entering their information. And what is social engineering? Manipulation of users into providing their details. I'll tell you a very interesting thing just now. Like few weeks back, I was at a Rogers office, for some mobile thing. And I was at a Rogers office, and literally I was making a purchase, maybe getting a new number. And it's really surprising. Maybe it was a coincidence or it was really planned. I got a message on my number, the previous number, that the purchase that you have made, there is some outstanding fund on us, and we are just transferring that. And I think, I was really surprised to see the type. Maybe, and as I said, maybe it was a coincidence, but that message had Rogers logo on that one. And of course, they'll try to get into you. So they will make every effort to make that message look like real. So it had a Rogers icon, and everything was there. And I was really making the purchase at that very time. So it was, and very interestingly, I was really expecting some money from Rogers back, because there was some extra payment or something. So everything was pointing towards a very favorable situation, but it was a scam. You know what I mean? And I was there at the Rogers office, and I showed it to the person who was dealing with me, and I showed him, look, this, I've received this message, and he was just he was smiling, and he said that perfect timing, because that they will always try to target, and with the excessive use of internet and of course mobile phones, people, we know that those who are not quote unquote techy in one way or other, they would always be involved in that one. Sometimes luring them into some money or something, and people will just will be happily providing their information. And once information has been fished off, like it has been taken, it would be, it could be used for any malicious intent. Make sense? So it was really good timing for that person. I was thinking that if I know that who has sent that, I would have clapped on that person, because that's the perfect timing. It can be as perfect as possible. Anyhow, so phishing social engineering protection, it's generally outside of our control. We need education. That's a very important point. It's outside of our control. People are prompted, they are tempted to do that information. And I tell you, let me tell you, a lot of people get into this phishing, on the daily basis. And people, they'll get that information. And as they get that information, again, as I said, whatever malicious intent they have, they will just, very easily just get into the systems and it'll try. So education is the key. And you guys and we, myself, we being in this IT, first of all, we should not become we should not become the victim of these attacks. And number one. And number two, we need to educate others, because the people who are not, as I said, quote unquote, tech savvy or techie, we need to tell them that like never ever provide your information to any messages unless you are very sure that the sender is legitimate. Even I would say to those non-techie people, even if you feel that the person is very authenticated, never give your information. You know what I mean? Because that really opens up a gate. Because if someone calls them and they really presume, or they show them to be the right person or the legitimate person, but of course we know that it might be. So alert users to what you will and you will never ask. So as a company, you just tell you. That's why we keep on getting these messages from banks that we will never ask you the password or the key that we have sent you. Don't never ever give this password to any one of us, because we will never ask you. That is very important alerts. And we usually don't give understanding to them, or give attention to them, but they are really important messages, because the company is trying to save you from the loss. Of course, ultimately they are going to pay that, or they are going to also have losses like that. But it's actually you who's it's boiled down to you, because if you make a wrong payment to someone else because of the phishing, it's all your bad, because you are doing that for yourself. So they want to save you, and that's why they will keep on alerting. So keep an eye on that, those messages that come up, and those messages are really there just to save us from the phishing or social engineering for them. Browser improvements. Browsers try to guess that. And with the advent in AI, artificial intelligence and things like that, we are gradually moving towards very smart browsers, because the browser will itself find out, okay, this does not look legitimate. I should stop this communication. And once the browser stops this communication, you will never be able to just reach to that particular site or particular area where that is thing. Proper domain names. That is one more thing, that domain names should be very proper. And remember always that whenever you get a scam message from someone, the domain will be the fishy one. First of all, you look at that and you will see that the domain is not properly being mentioned, and the domain does not show the right company. Anyhow, man in the middle. Attacker impersonates server to capture confidential and private information. In reality, it sits between client and the server. Yes, it's basically someone sitting in between me and my server. Man in the middle can modify original client message and completes its travel to the original server. Man in the middle. Get your information, changes a little bit, and send it to the server. Scary, isn't it? Because a person who can change your message may be manipulated before it reaches to the server. Your message, maybe it's reaching the original server, like after it has been manipulated big times or something like that. So protection for that one. Protection is encryption, end-to-end and linked encryption. So end-to-end encryption is the protection. What we see in our WhatsApp as well, it says that it's end-to-end protected information. Even though WhatsApp, if they want, they can just access our information, but they say that it's end-to-end encryption or end-to-end something like that. They try to fool us, but of course, anyhow, because the servers, they are getting that information, receiving that information, and that information is basically worthy of being sold to someone, or worthy of being being becoming the man in the middle type of something, something like that. Mutual authentication, digital signatures, handshake type of thing. I would send you something and I would say, unless you find my signature over there, unless you call me and confirm, I will not, never consider anything authentic from my side unless you call me and confirm, something like that. And digital signatures are also like that. I will sign something with a digital, I will sign a document with a digital signature. And on your side, you will find out what was my digital signature. And that will only be known to you and me. And you use that digital signature and try to access that information. Right? So that is man in the middle protection. Cross-site scripting. This is very interesting. Attacker discovers unsecured JavaScript code on target page, injects their own JavaScript attack using vulnerability. When user visits legitimate website, illegitimate script is executed, enables an attacker to insert arbitrary HTML code in the web page received by the client. Now here I'll just give you. Usually, what happens is that they try to, find out the loopholes in the JavaScript. And by the way, loopholes in the SQL injection that is called. There are lots of other type of attacks. So what they do is they try to find out or discover unsecured script or code, inject their own JavaScript attack using vulnerability. They will inject their own JavaScript because JavaScript is loose over there in your request or something. So add that one. When user visits legitimate website, illegitimate script is executed. So it has injected its script and that gets executed when user visited that one. Now, enables an attacker to insert arbitrary HTML. So it will just, insert some arbitrary HTML, some other HTML, and that would be received by the client. And client might, again, may be compromised. Typically aimed at stealing cookies used for authentication. So cross-site scripting is mostly used for stealing the cookies. Because cookies have those information, important information that you don't want to share. SQL injection is coming up as well. Okay, protection. Client-side protection in browser, restricted, untrusted JavaScript, disable JavaScript, browser built-in protections. So these are all, we do that built-in like restrict untrusted JavaScript or disable JavaScript. Unfortunately, we will not be able to run a lot of web content if we have disabled the JavaScript. You know what I mean? JavaScript has become an integral part of all the web applications, and now people might not get that thing that this goes away, right? So disabling JavaScript might not be the best thing to do because you will ultimately lose a lot of things. But yes, restricted and trusted JavaScript is a way, because you feel that if some JavaScript comes up which does not look legit, that does not look proper, why not just restrict that part of the JavaScript only? Validate input. That's a very important thing, and we have seen that validation. Allow only alphanumeric, no keywords, etc., etc., etc. You will always do the validations before sending that to the server. And that's a very, very important point. Then we have testing tools. We can use them. Testing tools. There are lots of testing tools that we can use for testing if there is something wrong going on with the legitimate request. And then it says convert non-alphanumeric to HTML numbers. So again, that's another way that it really, changes that form of the URL or request that has been made. And that also at times saves our information from, from being compromised. SQL injection. That's quite interesting. SQL injection attacks provide a direct interface into the database in the backend. SQL injection, it gives you direct interaction with the database. And you know how scary it is if someone gets access to my database. So they can do lots of attack executes arbitrary SQL statements in the backend database. So they will run SQL statements and try to take out my data if they have got into my system by using SQL injection. When we say SQL injection, it is actually SQL that has been sent as a part of the request, and On the receiving side, it takes it as a normal request, but it is not a normal request, and it just goes away and it blows away our page, right? So that might happen. Okay, so protection, valid input, allow only alphanumeric, no keywords, etc. And validate your inputs. Always use prepared statements, variables interpreted as strings, not part of SQL statement. So prepared statements, do not use the variables, because your variables could be injected with the other values. Make sense? Variables could be injected with other values. No sweeping privileges, data types, parameters. If numeric is required, make the parameter numeric. So again, try to limit the type of the data as well, which is coming up, so that you to save yourself from that one. Checking website security. Difficult to check for security issues for your entire site on your own. What we can do is we can hire security experts to perform a check of your system. So that's one of the way that we might want to see that how we will be just using that. And so can hire security experts to perform a check of your system. We can hire security experts to do that. Okay, checking website security audit, set of questions to check and access the security of your website performed by auditor, external or internal. We do that by using the auditors. And that's another job in itself, that you have an auditor that audits your website on different inputs and different things. And you have a set of questions that you might want to ask about that auditor might want to know that, okay, what is the answer to that? How is that accessible? Is that not accessible? Where is the password and thing? Penetration testing, hacking with permission. Penetration testing attempts to exploit your system, document the result. So hacking with permission will allow hacking of my website. Why? Because I want to see that how much, for example, how much my website can bear on a hacking attack, right? So it says that you have penetration testing and hacking with permission. It's actually. Then we have risk analysis, assessment of what risk your system can prevent if something were to go wrong. So again, you have to just analyze that what can go wrong if someone illegitimately enters into our system. So these are a few of the security concerns that we have. So this is quite, there is no hands-on for that one, but as I said, that it's a real field in its own. And we can just, we will have this one for this week. So it's a very small little topic for this week. And what we'll do is that I'm just looking at the week 13 accessibility issues. That's also a smaller one, and entrepreneurship trend. So what we'll do in our coming week, because we have 2 more weeks left. So because the topics are not that long over here. I would like to just solve some real world examples on maybe just we'll try to create a real world system with the PHP maybe in the next week, and then we'll just talk about the topics for the next week. How is it? So I was thinking that we may just we start a project from the beginning and then do the state management and everything inside that one, and try to complete that project into that one. Is that a good idea? Because just to have some useful hands-on with that one. An application where we will have forms, where we'll have all those things, and we'll try to just run that one and look what that. Do you think does that make sense? So we'll for the today it was just a little very small topic, but yes, for the next semesters we next week we will just try to come up with a little project and a database driven full application of PHP, and that will do. I'll definitely that will do that next week. Next week in the next week lecture we'll just try to come up with that one, and we'll just see that how that goes off, right? Okay, so so for this week it was there. And regarding the assignments, let me tell you, our assignment 2 is basically, so I'll be soon giving you the response of this one as well. The assignment 1, assignment 2 is due March 30, right? And as I said, on March 30 I'll open up another assignment that would be a week long. And that would be assignment 3, the last assignment. We have 2 quizzes, and again, I'll try to just give you the result of those quizzes as well before we go for the final exam. Right? And yes, as we talked about the exam, let's see the dates. I'll just look into the calendar. So you say that 16th is going to be, yes. So we might have that exam on the same day, or maybe we'll just see that what would be the What will the exam? So exam, I'll just tell you about the exam will be when will be the near that one. So anyone having any questions related to anything, you can just ask now. Any questions from anyone? And again, maybe you can just use this time today to look at the last week's lecture as well, because if you have not seen that, because I'll be asked, just remember, maybe if you have seen in that, I'll just stop sharing for a second. Maybe you have seen in that quiz 2 as well. I would mostly be asking those questions that I would be discussing orally more than that, because I want to reward those who are basically taking the classes, of course, actively. So I would like to just reward them. That's why I would be asking some of the questions that I would be discussing orally. There are lots of things that you might not find in that one, before that one. So let's just keep that in mind, that it would be something like that. You know what I mean? So that's the thing to do. And by the way, can you please confirm? I have given you quiz 2 result as well. Quiz 2 is also published. The final published. Anything or anyone else? Quiz 2 is also okay. Wonderful. So we are left with assignment 2, and then, as I said, there will be one more assignment 3, and we'll be just done with that one, right? So any questions from anyone? That's good.
Sir, in the rubrics, it's showing that we have 4 assignments.
Yes, but we'll go with 3. Natik, I'll change that one, because we don't have time for the 4th one, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just
And
change that.
sir, can we see the feedback of quiz 2? Because just like the midterm quiz.
Okay. You want me to just open up the answers as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll just open that. I'll just open that for you, and you will be able to see that. And let me know. I'm just doing that right now, and let me know if you are able to. Can you check that, Nitik, and let me know if you are able to see that now, the answers?
Yes, sir. Checking.
You can see that? Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So it should be now available that way. Okay, anything else? Any other question? If you guys want to ask, please let me know. Or no question is still also a valid argument. I'm not hearing any yes or no.
No, I can see. That's good, sir. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. No, I'm just asking the other thing. I was asking that if there is any questions, you can say ask that, or if there's no question. Okay, thank you, Rutiban, and thank you. Okay, wonderful. So see you all next week, and we will, as I said, we'll be completing a project that will have all these things together, and we'll just try to complete that. Okay, and bye everyone.